Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Adriana Torres of W3 Women, Wellness, and Wealth. I'm just going to start sharing my presentation. Give me 2 seconds. So this is who we are. This is a community that I have started just to ensure that as women, we are on top of the important and relevant topics that bring wellness and even wealth into our lives. So my name's Adriana Torres. I own Soaring Finances, Services and Solutions. And like I said, W3 or Women, Wellness and Wealth is a committee or a community, I should say, an online community out of Soaring Finances. So the idea, one more person, let me just admit her. The idea is to empower women, the community. The idea is to empower women. Our purpose is to bring awareness, to inspire and celebrate women. We aim to help women break barriers and shatter glass ceilings, hence the name of the event, Shatter It. So that is something that we encourage women just to go after their dreams, regardless of barriers, and just make their way to accomplishing their goals. I focus the majority of my time with financial wellness, but I do have different speakers, and we will have this year different speakers talking about overall wellness. So whether it be health, whether it be self-care, so keep an eye on our page for upcoming webinars right now, and they'll include not just me, but various people that I will have invited. The page is also there so that you can celebrate your accomplishments and celebrate that of others. So feel free to share, your thoughts and what's going on with you, and also celebrate other women as they're posting. So I want it to be a safe community where we respect and we just share love towards each other. So let me go back, and then I am going to introduce to you Melissa Kuchepa, and she is going to introduce herself, who she is, and then also lead us into the presentation.
Okay, so I'm going to start this off by apologizing in advance. I have 2 kittens who I work from home. I have 2 kittens, and they seem to think that every time I'm at my desk talking, this is their cue to jump on my desk and, walk around. So if you see them, that would be why. So I am Melissa Kuchepa. I'm a mortgage agent. I primarily work out of the Durham region, but I am licensed for all of Ontario. I work with Home Life Mortgages. That's the team that I'm on, but we are under the broker, which is Mortgage Architects. So I'm just going to pull up my presentation real quick here. Right. Can you see that? Did it work? I'm not sure. Good now? Perfect. Okay. So my presentation today will be building wealth through real estate, and I wasn't sure what the audience would be like, so I split it up between how to get into the housing market, because owning real estate is great for building wealth, as well as how you can use, if you are currently a homeowner, how you can use your equity to help you continue to build your wealth. So as I mentioned, I work for Mortgage Architects. The team I'm on is called Home Life Mortgages. Basically, my goal is to make mortgages more human. A lot of times when you go to different lenders, or if you're talking about your finances, it's very much a numbers game and it's not really personalized. So I like to take the time to understand the situation as a whole, get to know my clients so that I can make sure what I'm providing them really makes sense for them. The benefits to working with a mortgage agent. Myself, I have access to over 57 different lenders with a variety of different products, and I could work with a variety of different scenarios. So previous bankruptcies, consumer proposals, bruised credit, business for self, all of those things I can work with and have access to products that would be useful. My mission is to always leave my clients in a better position than when we first met. So I do this, like I said, by making sure that I understand my client's needs and I approach the situation empathetically. And I really just want to get to the root of their needs to determine what product or strategy will best suit the situation. I don't want to provide a service or products that don't make sense for my clients, which leave them with large penalties down the road if it's not needed. So I just wanted to show a few of my testimonials. I'm not going to read them out to you or anything, but I just want you to be aware that I really do focus on customer service and providing top-notch support to my clients right from the beginning of the transaction and even post-closing. I always follow up with my clients afterward and continue to follow up just to make sure that everything is good. And if there are other needs that come up, that I'm still there to help them. So the first thing I wanted to talk about are first-time buyers. So what you need to know about entering into the housing market. In Ontario, the minimum down payment to purchase a house is 5%, and that's on a house that's $500,000 or less. From $500,000 to $999,000, the additional that you would be required to pay is 10%. All homes that are $1 million or more require a minimum of 20% down payment. So for example, if you were looking at a $700,000 purchase, you'd pay 5% on the first $500,000, which equals $25,000, 10% on the remaining $200,000, which would be an additional $20,000. So your total down payment that would be required would be $45,000. Most lenders also require proof of 1.5% of additional funds that are available for closing costs. Those would consist of your legal fees, land transfer taxes, an appraisal if it's required, and other miscellaneous fees that could come up. Your closing costs will not necessarily cost you 1.5% of the purchase price, but the lender just wants to make sure that you have it available in case it's needed. In Ontario, you're required to pay a provincial land transfer tax. This fee must be paid in cash on closing at the lawyer's office and cannot make up part of your mortgage. So this is another reason why they want you to have that 1.5% available so that you can pay for this. First-time buyers can receive a rebate of up to $4,000 toward their land transfer tax. And also it's good to know that if you are purchasing in Toronto, the rules are a little bit different. Not only are you required to pay the provincial land transfer tax, but you're also required to pay a separate municipal land transfer tax. So basically you're paying twice the amount for your land transfer fees. I also wanted to mention Purchase Plus improvements because the idea here is that you can purchase a home that's in need of repairs, and once the repairs are completed, it allows you to build your equity very quickly. So a Purchase Plus improvements mortgage allows borrowers on qualified purchases to borrow up to $40,000 toward improvements that are to be completed after the closing date. The first step for this would be to obtain a mortgage pre-approval, which is super important because this allows us to take a look at your situation and see what is affordable for you. So we would determine your maximum purchase price. The second step would be to find a home and have an idea what the renovation costs would be. The purchase price plus the renovations cannot exceed your maximum approval from step one. Lenders will also need quotes of the work that you want done from various different companies so that they know how much money to add on to the purchase price. So for example, if you were to purchase for $450,000 and you wanted to do $35,000 in renovations, so you're looking for a new roof and updating the washroom, and maybe you want to put in new flooring, then the new mortgage amount would be $485,000, and your 5% down payment would have to be based on the 485, not the original 450 that you're purchasing for. Without any quotes, you will not receive any extra funds. So you want to make sure that you're ready to get contractors available to provide you with the quotes when you're going to put in an offer on the home. Step number 3, after your closing date, you can go ahead and start the renovations. The additional renovation funds are held at the lawyer's office and not given to you until the work has been completed to their satisfaction. So you complete the work, you have an inspection once the work is complete, and the lender must agree that the work is 100% finished to their satisfaction, and then the lawyer will then release the funds to you. And then if you've already paid the renovation funds out of your pocket, the money would go to you. Or if the contractor worked without being paid, the money would then go to the contractor to pay for it. The lender will also require an inspection report from the appraiser, and this would be a cost that you would incur. Typically, it ranges from about $100 to $150. And again, the lender does need to confirm that the work was completed in a good manner per the quotes that they were provided. And once it's been signed off, the lawyer hands over the funds. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was the first-time home buyer incentive. So the reason that I'm covering these various different topics is because, as it is International Women's Week, we're looking at it as, it's helpful for women to know what options they have, because it can be very difficult to save up for a down payment by yourself. If you are looking to buy a home with no one else on title, it can be hard to save up for a down payment. So this is another option. And also ways to build equity and get into the housing market. It's nice to know what your options are. So the first-time home buyer incentive is a shared equity program offered through the government. So it makes it easier for you to buy a home and lower your monthly mortgage payments. The program is shared equity mortgage, meaning that the government shares in the property value. It allows you to borrow 5% for existing homes or 10% for new builds, which you can use towards your down payment. You do pay back the same percentage of the home value when you sell or within a 25-year window. So it works like this. You receive a 5% incentive of the home's purchase price of, say, $200,000, or $10,000 is what you would receive. If your home value increases to $300,000, your payback would be 5% of the current value, or $15,000. You receive a 10% incentive on the home's purchase price of $200,000 or $20,000, and your home value decreases to $150,000. Your repayment value would be 10% of the current value, or $15,000. So you're actually not paying back as much as you borrowed. Just as the name implies, this incentive is for first-time home buyers. So they do have some rules in place. You're considered a first-time home buyer if you've never purchased a home before, or you did not occupy a home that you or a current spouse or common law partner has owned in the last 4 years, or if you've recently experienced the breakdown of a marriage or a common law partnership. Even if you don't meet the other first-time home buyer requirements, because you are now newly single, you do qualify again for it. The next program I wanted to talk about, they're actually two separate ones. One is Flex Down, and the second one is called Cashback. So Flex Down, borrowers that have good credit but are struggling to save for their down payment can borrow part or all of their down payment from a credit source. So a credit card, a line of credit, or a loan. And this new debt is then factored into your ratios to determine what your new maximum purchase price would be. So we do have to take into consideration that you have a new monthly payment for that debt, and you have to be able to carry that debt along with, based on your income and other debts that you have, along with the mortgage that you're applying for. And so you can take the funds that you're borrowing, use that as part of your down payment. Cashback mortgages are basically, they're always a 5-year fixed, and we have a few different lenders that we work with, MCAP and RMG. They're our go-tos for cashback mortgages. They allow you to borrow up to, they allow you to receive up to 3% cashback on an eligible purchase. The interest rate is usually a little bit higher, but it does provide you with a lump sum payment on closing. And you can use those funds toward your closing costs if you wanted to pay off a few debts, or if you wanted to buy new furniture, even renovations. You can use it for any of those things, but the funds cannot be considered part of your down payment. So you do still need to have a down payment in place, and then you can use those funds for anything you wanted after the fact. This type of mortgage also does carry higher penalties. So if you needed to break your mortgage down the road, midterm, you would have higher penalties to do so. So it really is important to make sure that we're weighing all of your options very carefully before you make that decision. Life can change very quickly, as we all know. So it's important to always take that into consideration when you're considering a fixed term mortgage, because they do have higher penalties. So now I'm going to break off from moving into the housing market, and this half of the presentation will be more toward people that already own homes and what you can do with the equity that's in it. So I own a home, but how do I get the funds to buy an investment property, or what can I do to build my wealth? When you own a home, as you make your payments and property values increase, you're building your equity. And your equity can be accessed through a variety of different products and used toward investment purchases, paying off debts, that sort of thing. And so I'm going to cover a few different options. The first would be a refinance. So refinances have many different purposes, but today I'll touch on two different ways that you can use refinances to help build your wealth. The first option is to access your equity through the refinance to pay off high interest debts. This is the main one that people tend to think of when they talk about refinances. So as you're taking a significantly lower interest rate and stretching out the amortization, the monthly payments that you had for all of these high interest debts are now being combined with your mortgage. So you have one monthly payment, but because you've stretched it out, that monthly payment is much lower. So what this does for you, it serves two purposes. The first is that it helps you to increase your cash flow. So what you were previously spending on your debts, you now have available for other things. The second purpose is that with this newly improved cash flow, you can take all of those additional funds and begin funneling them into high interest savings or tax-free savings accounts or retirement savings plans. So this is helping you build your wealth and save for your future. Option number two with refinancing would be to take out your equity to use as a down payment toward an investment purchase. This allows you to take a new interest rate and extend the amortization on your current home, and it keeps your monthly payments as low as possible. Then, sorry, cat number one. So from there, you can use that money toward a down payment for an investment property, and you want to make sure that you're ensuring that the market rent on the investment purchase is covering your expenses and you're building wealth, equity, and income all at the same time. I wanted to give you an example of what it looks like when you're using your refinance to pay off some high interest debts. So this is an example of a refinance where the borrower, sorry guys, I really apologize for that. So this is where the borrower chose to pay off high interest debts. So they had an existing mortgage of $300,000 with a rate of 3.09, which even just last year, the year before, that was not an uncommon rate. Their monthly payment was $1,501. They have a line of credit of $18,000, a rate of 7%. Again, a very common interest rate for that. Monthly payment $360. A credit card for $15,000, an interest rate of 24%. Monthly payment of $450, a car loan for $20,000 with a rate of 4%, monthly payment of $400. Their total amount of all their debts combined are $353,000. Combined monthly, they're paying $2,711. Now, if we were to refinance that, the new mortgage would be $353,000, and that's not taking into consideration any penalties or anything like that. We're just doing straight numbers for this one. The interest rate estimated at 2.29%. We could probably do even lower than that right now. but their new monthly payment would be $1,354. So as you can see, they end up saving $1,357 every single month that they can now invest into savings. So not only do they see an improvement in their credit scores, but they'll also be able to save a significant amount of money annually, so long as they stay on track and use those funds for what they intended. So the borrowers in this instance would be able to save a minimum of $16,284 per year, which they could then take that money and put it back onto their mortgage, paying it off even faster. Or they could continue putting it into savings and build a nice lump sum that they would have available in the event that there's an emergency, or even just for retirement, education, anything. Now, the second topic I wanted to talk about is second mortgages. So they can be used in the same way as the two examples that I provided for refinances, but the main differences here are that we only really ever recommend a second mortgage if it does not make sense to break your first place mortgage. So before I was talking about fixed rate mortgages as well as taking cash back. So if you're in the middle of your term and you think, hey, I really want to buy an investment property, or maybe you've accumulated a lot of debt and you need some sort of relief from that. A second mortgage in this case might make sense because your penalty might be very high. So second mortgages carry a much higher interest rate because they're riskier for the lender. It also produces a second mortgage payment because it's a second mortgage. So we have to make sure that we're considering the fact that you are taking on an additional payment. If you're using it to pay down debts, it might still make sense. If you're using it for an investment property, you want to make sure that everything does make sense for you because it can change your affordability drastically. Again, like I mentioned, though, in some instances where debt load is very high, it can still be a really useful tool to alleviate some of that burden and then, again, help improve cash flow. So this can be used as a useful tool for purchasing an investment property, again, if it's too costly to break your first place mortgage. You want to weigh out the pros and the cons, which typically is my job. We would go through that together and make sure that it makes sense. With second mortgages, the most important thing to take into consideration is that we want to have an exit strategy. It's meant as a short-term solution. You don't want to have it forever hanging over your head. So in most, if not all cases, the goal is to refinance when your mortgage comes to maturity, your first place mortgage, and roll in the second mortgage so that you again drop back down to the one monthly payment. Again, that then helps to increase your affordability even more. So from here, I wanted to talk to you about investment properties. So I'll be talking about three different types today: long-term rentals, flips, and buy and holds. So long-term rentals are one of the most common real estate investments. This is where you would purchase an investment property, you rent it out to tenants, and then over the entire amortization or the life of the mortgage, the tenants are paying rent and paying off the mortgage for you. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're working very closely with a realtor. When you're choosing your property, you want to make sure that it's in a good location, somewhere that it's easy to make sure that you always have tenants that are interested in renting. You want to make sure that the fair market rent is enough to cover the mortgage payments, the property taxes, and any maintenance expenses. This is ensuring that you're not paying these costs out of pocket, because then it gets very expensive and it doesn't always make sense. So the top reasons to purchase a long-term rental would include building your wealth, increasing passive income. Again, the tenants are paying the mortgage, and this helps to increase equity. So again, property values are increasing, tenants are paying down the mortgage, that equity is building, and it is really helpful to have that there in the event that there's financial hardship down the road, or even just preparing for retirement. Purchasing a long-term rental helps to build wealth by increasing your assets. And like I mentioned, in the event of financial hardship, you could sell or refinance the investment property and have access to the equity to ease your financial strain. Having many assets is favorable in the eyes of lenders because they see you as a lower risk because you have the ability to sell off those assets and pay debts if it were ever needed. This helps ensure that you receive great rates and products from the lenders that you approach. When determining the amount to charge for your rent, again, you want to make sure that you're charging enough to cover the mortgage payment, the property taxes, as well as maintenance fees. If the property requires very little maintenance, you'll have a steady stream of income every month after paying the mortgage and property taxes. And depending on the amount of investment properties that you have, this income could be quite substantial. As long as the property remains consistently occupied, your tenant's rental payments will cover the monthly mortgage payment, and eventually the mortgage will be completely paid off with very little coming from your own pocket. At that time, the property is free and clear, and the monthly rental income after paying property taxes and any required maintenance would all be yours. So this is a really excellent strategy to increase your income when you're planning for retirement, especially in industries that don't have pension plans or don't have very good pension plans. So the next type of investment property are flips, and they are often featured on home improvement shows. You see them all the time. The basis behind a flip is that the investor purchases a home in need of repair. This could be through a foreclosure or an estate sale, and they'll purchase the home significantly under market value. Then they repair the house and they sell it for a profit once all of the renovations are complete. There are advantages to this. You would gain experience in real estate, construction, buying and selling. You'd also gain a better understanding of costs associated with the various different projects. And with that experience, you can make sure that you understand what buyers are looking for, so you can tailor your flips to your target market to make sure that they're very easily sellable. There's also potential to earn quick profit so long as the repairs can be completed quickly and affordably. It also helps you to increase your network because you'd be working with various different real estate agents, construction companies, etc. There are also some disadvantages, which you'll also see on the home improvement shows. There can be costly repairs that come up that were not obvious up front. You could lose money instead of making a profit if there are unanticipated construction costs or repairs get out of hand, or if you're not able to sell the home. If you had to mortgage the property to purchase it, the longer it takes for you to complete the flip and sell it, the more money that's coming out of your budget, and ultimately it eats away at your profit. There could also be tax implications for short-term ownership for flipping purposes, so you'd want to make sure that you're discussing that with a licensed accountant or a tax professional that can make sure that you're aware of everything you need to know. And also just the stress factor. It can be very stressful and add additional anxiety to your life. So it may or may not be something that you're interested in, but there is huge potential to make really good money from it, which you can use to invest in other properties. But there is also a huge potential to overspend. So it's important to know what features in a home would really benefit the selling price. That's where you could work with a realtor because they know what makes the most sense, what sells a house. For example, you want to put your money into kitchens and bathrooms, outdoor landscaping, and then make sure that you're fixing actual problems that are in the home. Don't just like cover over them. You have to make sure that you're taking care of the actual problems before putting on the nice finishing touches. Another tip is to buy really good quality tools so that you can use them repeatedly instead of replacing them often, because that eats into your profits as well. And the last type of investment property are called buy and holds. So they're also a very common form of real estate investing. And this is where the investor purchases a property and holds on to it with the intention of selling it once it has appreciated in value. So buy and holds are an effective form of real estate investment because once the investor has financed the property, they can still rent it out to tenants, much like the long-term rentals. And that will help them with short-term cash flow and paying down the mortgage while the property is appreciating in value. So once the investor is ready to sell, they'll likely make a really great profit because, again, the equity has been building this whole time. The renters have been paying the rent or paying the mortgage, and the property is appreciating in value. So there are some things that you'll want to take into consideration if you're looking to buy and hold. You want to look for a good neighborhood. Statistically, neighborhoods with higher crime rates, the houses tend to sell for a lot less. You want to look for good properties that don't require a lot of repairs. Obviously, if you have to put a lot of money into maintenance, that eats away at your profits, so you're not building as much profit or wealth from it. You also want to make sure that you're using a real estate agent, because they can, again, help you by finding a good neighborhood, one where you're also able to easily tenant it out. You want to make sure that you're understanding cash flow calculations, so that you're ensuring the property you're buying is expected to run a positive cash flow, not negative. You don't want to be losing money from doing this. The advantages are that you're creating a stream of passive income. The tenants are paying, when they're paying their rent, it's paying down your mortgage, which gives you a nice steady passive income on a monthly basis. You're building equity as they're paying down the mortgage and the property value increases. The property continues appreciating over time, which does create a profit on selling. There are also tax write-offs for this. So you want to make sure that you're speaking with a qualified tax professional to determine what you could be eligible for. And again, with everything, there are always disadvantages as well. So if your tenants no longer pay their rent, or if you're having issues collecting rent from them, this could be an issue, because you would then be paying the mortgage out of pocket, and that could get very costly. Property damage is a big issue as well. If tenants badly damage the property, it could cost you thousands of dollars in repairs, which again eats away at the profit that you would make in the end. It could be you could experience difficulty maintaining occupancy. So again, this is why you want to work with a realtor, because they know what locations are really hot in terms of being able to keep them rented out, where people have a high demand for housing. So if you're not choosing a location like that, you could experience difficulties keeping it rented out and end up paying the mortgage out of pocket. And as well, there's always property repairs to take into consideration. If there are major repairs that pop up that you didn't foresee, that could cost you a lot of money out of pocket. So it's always really important to make sure that you're weighing the pros and cons when you're looking at each of the options, if you're interested in investing in real estate to help build your wealth. So that concludes my part of the presentation. Did anyone have any questions?
Hi, Melissa. It's Valerie. I have a question, because I have recently gone through a divorce, so I was interested in the first-time homebuyer incentive.
Mm-hmm.
Is there how long is it? Will I be considered as a first-time homebuyer? Is there a timeline? Because of, like, I'm not sure I want to buy right now, and I've separated in August of last year.
So no, there's no timeline. Once you've experienced a marital breakdown, you're considered a first-time home buyer again, and there's no time frame for that. You can buy whenever you're ready. There's no rush for you to do that.
Okay, I had one more question, if I may. When you talked about the long-term rentals, that's another thing I've been considering, and I've had some people that are saying, yep, that's the way to go. And then I have the other side of the coin that says, no, you could invest your money in stocks or purchase things, and that would be a greater, you get more money back doing it that way than the long-term rentals. What's your feelings on that? The long-term rentals. To me, it sounds like a more sure thing, where I've got some equity and there's more bonuses for me to make more money back quicker. I'm talking within the next 5 to 10 years.
My personal opinion is that I always lean toward the long-term rentals and real estate, simply because, I mean, if you look at the housing market, very rarely do houses depreciate in value, and as the mortgage is being paid down, that equity builds very, very quickly. And depending on the area that you select, the property value could increase even faster. For example, I live in Bowmanville, and because the 407 was being extended here, there's a GO station that's being added, the property values have skyrocketed. And I've only been here for 4 years. So if I had been renting out this location to someone instead of paying it myself, the profits would have been massive. And I I mean, I can't really speak to other types of investments because that's not my
Right.
area of specialty, but I don't really know of any other way that you could potentially make hundreds of thousands of dollars extra in a few short years. So, I mean, there's always disadvantages to any type of investment property, but if it's done correctly and you work closely with a realtor, I think it would be a really great move.
Can real estate agents give you the data? Because I could pretty much buy anywhere, and that's what's holding me back. So
Mhm.
do you have information on some of the better areas to buy where you can get in at a lower rate and the houses are selling, like Bowmanville, for example, right? Would you have known that before? Can you go somewhere to find that kind of information, like what's going to be happening in the next couple of years to determine where the best place to buy might be?
I typically work closely with realtors, so that would be a question that I would ask them to see if they have any projections. I know that like Lindsay and Peterborough are starting to really heat up. Basically, people are trying to get out of the cities and move a little further north where they can still have property and not really, and still kind of get that city life. It's a nice mix for people. So that's why Bowmanville got really, really popular, because people are moving further east. The property values are a little bit lower. So I'm really seeing a lot of increase right now, just myself, in like Peterborough, Lindsay area, in some of those like northern towns. So I would really recommend talking to a realtor, and I have a few really great ones that I work with that I could recommend to you if you don't know one yourself. But they typically have that type of data available, and they can kind of see where the market is starting to trend. That's just what I have found personally, that the northern towns seem to be really picking up right now.
Oh, I'd appreciate that. I'll follow up with you after so I don't take any more time, but thank you.
Oh, no problem.
If I could just add a few things to those questions, you know, working with things like investments, I think there's no greater a quick return on your money right now like real estate. So, you know, one of the things you can consider, Val, is actually buying a house that has an opportunity for you to, let's say, live upstairs, and then you can rent the basement downstairs. You know, that gives a lot of options. The only thing I will caution you on, and anybody that's looking to do any type of rentals, is you always have to have an additional emergency fund in case something happens with your tenant. Okay, you should have anywhere from 3 to 6 months emergency fund saved, because that's, if you have an issue with your tenant, it usually takes about that amount of time for them to be able to vacate your property. Okay, so those are sort of things that you might want to consider. And absolutely, I agree with Melissa, working with a realtor to make sure they can pull up demographics as well, you know, by salary, you know, female or male, you know, good schools, all those sorts of things that make a property more appealing to people who are actually going to be renting from you. So it's very important to keep close to professionals. A good accountant as well is something that I would definitely recommend, because when you're renting, you have a lot of tax credits that you can actually take advantage of. So always make sure that you're working with a bookkeeper, an accountant, or somebody that can help you in that particular area.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Hi, Melissa. Excuse me. So I guess my first question would be, do you manage investments, or is it basically up to us to go out and find our own investment? And as plus to that, do you also do joint ventures?
So I do not manage investments.
Okay.
I'm only a mortgage agent. So I do work with financial planners like Adriana, who can help you with that. I would always source that out, because that is not my area of expertise. I can only work with mortgage financing.
Okay, perfect. And then, so Adriana, do you handle anything like real estate joint ventures?
I don't, my license basically within Ontario is for investments and risk protection. So when you're talking about joint ventures, are you talking about protecting joint ventures or actually sourcing them?
Well, that's a good question. I'm actually in a real estate joint venture right now. So the person that's handling this, she went out, she owns the property, but she was looking for investors to help her to buy this property. And of course we get our share of the interest. So that's, I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay, okay.
That's sort of what I would be looking for, another investment like that, where someone else owns the property, they manage it, they take care of it, and I just reap the rewards.
Okay, so that would probably be because you're seeking more of those. So I don't necessarily work. I mean, I could have a client that says to me, you know, this is what I'm planning on doing, and then I would definitely, you know, let my other clients know, is anybody looking to invest in this type of you know, venture.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that would probably be working with a really trusted realtor.
Okay.
That would know, because
Okay.
they are the ones that would be hit first with
Right.
people who are looking to invest, whether it be a rental, whether it be you know, a buy and hold sort of scenario. They would know those, you know, who they're working with, and most of them have a lot of just, they're just investors. That's what, you know, helps to build their business.
Yeah.
Is the fact that, you know, yes, they started off with a home, but now they have, you know, 4 or 5 different homes with different purposes in building their wealth. So I would say, you know, have your questions ready, work with a really good realtor that has experience in that, you know, a question I would ask them is, you know, how many investors do you work with that are, you know, investing in real estate? How many properties do they have? Where do they have these properties? Do you know if they're looking to, you know, expand, buy new homes? You know, ask them the questions before you tell them what it is that you want.
Okay.
Because sometimes as professionals, then we just repeat what our possible client might want to hear, right?
Okay.
So have your questions up front. But yeah, I would start there and then deal with, you know, a mortgage professional like Melissa, who knows her ins and outs. And one of the reasons that I chose Melissa to do this presentation, her and I work closely. I would not refer my clients to anybody that I didn't trust.
Yeah.
I love the way that she manages her business. You know, even with second mortgages, that was one of the questions when we were sort of interviewing each other to work together. I was like, hold on a second, second mortgages, that's dangerous because people can refinance over and over again and then end up with zero. And she has a very strategic plan. If you do find yourself in that situation, she has an exit strategy. So she's not going to leave you hanging. She's not somebody that's, okay, I got my commission, I'm out of here, you know, deal with it yourself. She is always there. So
Awesome.
hope that helps.
Okay. Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
And just to add to that, I do have a couple of realtors that I could ask if I could put out some feelers to see if they do have a lot of investors that they work with. One comes to mind specifically, but I would want to check with him first just to be sure. But I could definitely put you in contact with them if you'd like.
I'm actually out in Calgary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have a contact that has a lot of business partners out in Alberta, so I could see if she knows anyone.
Sure. And actually, my mortgage broker is connected with the mortgage architect, so
fantastic.
He may know some too, but yeah, I would appreciate that information. That'd be super.
Sure.
Awesome.
Christine, I also have a real estate agent in Red Deer that might be able to help you. I can connect with you later and give you the information.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know how we connect after this shuts down.
I think the emails are on the little information thing that we got, so I can just get your email from there.
You bet. Okay, thank you. That's
right,
awesome. Thank you.
Perfect.
Any other questions? Well, I'm going to take an opportunity just to remind you of the Passport to Win. This is listed, it's actually posted on our website, my website, or within the event page. And it's very important for you to know what's going on and be part of the event page, because that's where, pardon me, that's where our prizes will be announced. So if you win a prize, you definitely want to know that you won a prize. So make sure you're there. If you can't find it, it is at W3 Empowerment. And then if you go into events, you'll see Shatter It event that is there. And that's where we're posting everything. That's where Melissa will also post her contact information, anything that she believes is relevant to continue to keep us on the trend of building wealth, mortgages, whatever she sees fit for us women. I'll remind you that it's International Women's Week that we're celebrating, and I choose to challenge gender and racial inequality. So I encourage you all to whatever it is that you're sort of passionate about, whatever inequality you're passionate about, just to share it. You can actually post your pose. This is the pose from International Women's Day. I choose to challenge. You can actually post it on their website, and that's I think it's very cool. So women from all over the world are doing that, and how to do it is again on the event page. The link is there. You just have to create a small account with International Women's Day organization and take it from there. Any other questions? Anything else? Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank Melissa for her time, for her wonderful presentation. Like I said, you know, it's this is all to be resources for us. I mean, Christine is out in Calgary. We might not be able to do anything, you know, for her ourselves, but we do have an extended network of people that we can connect you with, and it's just to empower us as women. So be empowered, be inspired, be supportive of each other, and most of all, love yourselves.
Thank you so much for inviting me to speak. I really appreciate it, and it was so nice to speak with all of you today. And thank you so much for your questions. It was nice to have people that were engaged.
There will be a gift certificate that will be drawn at the end of the night for all of the events that were you participate today. So there will be one winner, so we'll post that there. Melissa has graciously donated a $25 gift certificate. We're not picking from where, we're allowing the individual to sort of select where they would like the gift certificate from, okay? Thanks again. Choose the challenge. Be well, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.